Harrison Pierce was a devious, pockmarked, midlife asshole who wore short-sleeve white shirts and cheap ties. He had a creepy, self-satisfied smirk, like he'd peeked through a hole and saw you boning your aunt. That Crow was a suspected serial killer amused him. "I've seen all types of criminals," Pierce said. Whenever he talked to Crow, he leaned back in his chair with his hands behind his head, his feet up on the desk. "And you're not the type." "Then what type am I?" Crow asked. "An ordinary thug. Amsack is smart, clever, thinks ahead, and that's definitely not you." Pierce gave Crow info about rich parolees like the Crockers. Crow would break in and steal the valuables. Pierce would sell the loot and give Crow a commission, never more than a few $100s. If Crow didn't play along, he'd go back to the joint. "The Crocker job is done," Crow said as he sat down. "Good. I want to talk about the next job. Should be a good one." "Hold on. I want to talk about something else." Pierce huffed. "Sorry, my friend. I set the agenda here, and I said we're going to talk about—" It took a moment for Pierce to recognize his own voice. Crow had his phone out and was playing a taped conversation. "I'm running the show, okay?" Pierce said on the recording. "You get what I pay you and nothing more. Is that understood?" There were more clips of Pierce specifying names and dates and giving instructions about who to rob, how, and when. Pierce put his feet down and cleared his throat. He shook his head sympathetically, like this was a big mistake. "That was not a smart thing to do, my friend. I've dealt with a lot of jokers like you who think they can—"
"Shut up," Crow growled. "And if you call me friend again, I'll tie you to that chair and beat you to death."
Pierce was the color of cornstarch.
"You're the one who committed the robberies,"
Pierce said, his voice rising.
"Turn me in, and you'll get charged with all of them."
"I was under duress. You weren't. You're a trusted employee of the government. If this comes out, your whole life will turn to shit. Do I have to tell you about what happens to assholes like you in the joint?"
Pierce started to push back, but deflated. "No, I guess you don't." Circles of sweat had appeared under his armpits. His tie looked too tight, and his shirt looked too big. Crow said, "To the outside world, we're exactly the way we are. Case, officer, and parolee. The terms of parole are the same on paper, but now on I do what I want. As for the robberies, starting today, you're doing them."
"What?"
Pierce said. He looked like he'd swallowed a spider or a spoiled egg.
"I'll sell the loot myself to the people I know," Crow went on. "You might get a cut. It depends on how I feel."
Crow stood, put his arms in a Y, and stretched.
"I'm going out of town for a few days.
And if for some reason somebody calls about me, you're going to say what?"
"That you're a model citizen,"
Pierce said, staring off.
"Best parolee ever."
Crow moved to the door. "Come to my house and take this monitor off me, my friend. And do it fucking today." Chapter 1. Rush Creek. Isaiah drove north on Interstate 5, out of L.A., through the brown, brushy foothills of Southern California, housing developments on either side, their Spanish tiled roofs like a field of umber Lego. Flocks of people moved out here despite the 2-hour commute to L.A. Nothing like affordable housing for $650,000, but your own home was one of the few freedoms left in modern life. 2,500 square feet to do anything you wanted. Isaiah turned off the 8-lane 5 onto the 2-lane 395, the town smaller and farther apart, the foothills flattening into scrubby, monotonous desert. He'd been chased out of L.A. by a multitude of gangs, and there was a bounty on his head. There were other reasons he'd fled, too. He was exhausted, mentally and physically. His soul was bleeding. He didn't want to be IQ anymore. He didn't want to see any more suffering, injustice, and cruelty. He didn't want to hear any more victims sobbing and grieving or to be around any more gangsters, killers, sociopaths, and lunatics. He didn't want to be someone who sought out the cesspool, swam in it, made a living from it, and nearly drowned in the shit and stink and filth of it. He was done. There had to be something else for him.